and welcome everyone to the Big Data and AI webinar series. We thank you all for attending today, and as always, we hope that you are safe and well. New webinars are hosted every Thursday where we discuss strategies, solutions, and emerging technologies in the data and AI space to help educate and advance the industry. If you haven't had a chance to see any of our past webinars, you can go to bigdata-toronto.com/2020 to see all our past webinars that we've done, as well as our fall conference. On today's webinar, we will be exploring successful cloud migration planning. Our speakers will be addressing the benefits of cloud services and how to ensure a successful migration. Our speakers today are John Palazzolo, Senior Sales Engineering Manager for Snowflake, and Amar, Narain, CIO and VP at Pizza Pizza. If you have any questions for our speakers, we will address these questions at the end of their presentations, at the end of each one of their presentations. Please put all of your questions into the Q&A tab that's located to the right of the screen and not in the chat tab. If you put them in the chat tab, we may not see them and therefore we may not get to them. Any questions we aren't able to get to today, we will submit to our speakers and they'll have a chance to answer them, and we will send them around to everybody. And a reminder that this webinar is recorded. We won't take any breaks and we'll go straight forward to 2:45. A link for the recording will be sent to all registrants of the webinar tomorrow, as well as a survey for the webinar. We always hope that we can get your information as to what you want to be seeing in our webinars, what content you see as valuable, and certain types of presentations as well. So we are going to kick things off with John from Snowflake. John, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for the invite. Hopefully we can get through what a cloud migration looks like with a little bit of Snowflake flavor to it.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, everyone. And I'll bring up my slides here. So, as it stands with in today's world, right? Data absolutely by far is the world's most valuable resource, especially for the organizations that are attending today. And being able to analyze that data over the last little while, it's been growing and it's been harder to actually analyze. And in doing so, we've seen new technologies come to bear that allow us a better way to analyze this data. And to be able to do that, there's three key things that we've seen to help us do that, right? And it's the rise of the cloud, being able to leverage the cloud for all of its benefits, right? This unlimited storage, this unlimited compute power that it provides. And this ties in very nicely to the explosion of data that we've seen. All these different types of data, right? Structured to semi-structured based information streams that are coming into our environments. How do we actually handle that? And last but not least is about our diversification of analytics, allowing the democratization of BI tools to be able to access this data, so all of our lines of business can actually be able to make decisions off the data. But it's been really tough up until the advent of the cloud and this journey to the cloud. And from Snowflake's perspective, we've seen this evolution come where we've moved from an on-prem type of enterprise data warehouse, and there's been limitations with these on-prem systems, right? Going back 20, 30 odd years, for example, we weren't able to have all of our users access this system because we have this Monday morning crunch that happens and things just slow down. Having all of our data in the system itself has also been very difficult. But it's been great at being able to be open, right? SQL queries being driven to these systems to get us answers really quickly. We then were able to move to, this first-gen cloud version of an enterprise data warehouse, for example, right, where we're able to store the same data. We've taken basically on-prem infrastructure and moved it into the cloud and allowed us to automate a lot of this. And in this automation, it's provided us some freedom in order to get access to the data. But we still saw the same limitations with accessing our data, right? We're talking about petabytes of information today, and the systems today that have moved into this first-gen cloud are still having issues getting access to all of this data. And in one of my next slides, you'll see some of that complexity. And then the advent of the data lake, right? The Hadoop type of ecosystem came around, where we were accessing all of our data now, right? We could put petabytes of information into a data lake, but it was very difficult and still is very difficult for all of our users to get access to that data, and to do it in a very performant manner was also difficult. And then obviously with the Snowflake bias, we can come in, we can serve petabytes of information, right? We use the cloud to all of its benefits in order for you to get fast access to the data that you need. And when we're thinking about moving to the cloud, right? The components of a migration plan that come to bear, and here you can see from migration planning to thinking about security, there's different elements that we need to take into consideration when making this journey to a cloud, to the cloud platform, or to a cloud data platform like Snowflake in itself. And it starts with migration planning, right? Being able to accurately scope out what does this migration look like. Code conversion becomes a big stumbling point for most, and I'll touch upon this later on in my presentation. But being able to look at some of your on-prem code today and being able to move that in an automated fashion to the cloud, right, into your cloud data platform. And there's tools and techniques in order to allow us to do this. Data migration, right? What are our plans to move our initial data sets from our legacy systems into a more nimble type of cloud data platform like Snowflake? The data ingestion plans that you have, right? What does that data movement look like from a data change perspective from these source systems? How often should we be taking that data from the source systems? Are we talking near real time? Do we need to do batch still, right? What does that look like? So these are some of the things that we're going to be taking into consideration initially. What does the ecosystem and landscape look like from your reporting and analytics tool? Ideally, moving into the cloud shouldn't handcuff you in any way. It should open up some freedom for you. And having a tool like a cloud data platform that is open to many of the tools in the ecosystem is important for you to be considering. Data validation, making sure as all of this data is coming in, right? The logic is holding strong for you, and you're getting when you submit a query, you're getting the intended results back for you. And something that can't be underestimated when moving to the cloud is security. The number one stopping block that I have found with all the customers that I speak to has been security. What does the security implementation look like? In this journey to the cloud, security is inevitably going to be a big part of the conversation that you're going to have to get through. Your info security teams are very comfortable with things being inside their golden walls today, and moving it to the cloud gives them a little bit of angst. So making sure you're working with a vendor that can guide you through the security conversations that you need to have. And, part of what Snowflake's business is all about is securing data. From the first line of code that's been written, it's been about security at the forefront. It's not taking an on-prem system, putting it in the cloud, and having security be an afterthought. Security from the first stitch of code was considered. So when we take all of those things into consideration, I wanted to highlight three things that I think matter, and that's the product architecture of the cloud data platform that you're moving to. So how do you manage all of that information? Native capabilities that the solution is going to be able to provide, and then I wanted to touch on some of these automated code capabilities that we can provide. But from a product architecture perspective, we're moving into this new world of unlimited compute, unlimited power, and we've taken this traditional approach where a shared disk architecture or a shared nothing architecture where we're redistributing data across many nodes in the environment is really of the old. Snowflake has come along and they have decoupled our compute from our storage layer, allowing us to have a lot of freedom and into what goes into the secret sauce of Snowflake. So we can run on any one of the three public clouds that you see here, GCP, AWS, Azure, and this is infrastructure that sits behind the scenes that we deploy into. We've decoupled storage from compute, and the centralized storage area can have access to petabytes of information inside of here. So you're really from an object storage perspective of the cloud vendor is unlimited. Our compute nodes, these little cogs in the wheel that we see here, these are decoupled from the storage layer, allowing you to run ETL jobs 24/7 and allow your Monday morning rush of individuals coming in at the system, hitting it all at the same time, avoiding any type of resource contention that you may have. These are isolated workloads that you run, and you can dedicate compute power and resources to those workloads as you deem fit, and you can scale up and scale out as needed. And last but not least, delivering this as a service, the brains of the system, the cloud services layer, we automatically take care of optimization, right? There's a near zero management type of application that you have to think about. Your old way of working in the traditional data warehousing space of having to tune or prune your system goes away. Snowflake takes care of that in and in itself. We are ACID compliant, so transactionally consistent. I mentioned security and governance. From the first stitch of code, security was kept in mind, TLS 1.2 encryption, as well as all of your data as it is as it's transferring through the different layers of Snowflake is secured as well. The secret sauce to all of this is actually metadata. We can clone a petabyte of information in a second. And we can make, for example, if you have a production environment that's a petabyte, we can give your data science team the exact same production environment in a second, cloned and separated. And that's the power of metadata. And then last but not least, sharing and collaboration. We can take all of this information, we can securely share that out in a live fashion to other individuals. When it comes to native capabilities, this is a traditional architecture that we've been looking at, right? From data sources to data consumers, it's spaghetti and duct tape is the way that I like to put it. In tying all these pieces together, there's lots of moving parts that happen, right? Taking your data lake, and then you have your traditional data warehouses, and then from a performance perspective, you needed these data marts, you needed a separate infrastructure for backups. Being able to share was through FTP, for example. It's been very difficult in order to manage all of this, especially at the scale we're talking about, to get the most value out of our data. And it really hasn't changed for the first-gen cloud infrastructure as well, right? It's still complex. It's still costly. You're just a little less constrained because we've done some automations in the background in order to make the cloud to our benefit, right? But when we think about Snowflake, right, your data sources aren't going to, everyone is going to be unique there. But there's native capabilities built into Snowflake that allow us to bring to bear the best of all of this, right? So petabytes of information servicing all of these different types of workloads that you may have, from data warehousing to your data lake to data engineering. So shifting from an ELT perspective to an extract, load, and then transform ELT perspective, we can do within Snowflake. A data exchange or a marketplace allowing you to get access to information and be able to blend that into your data sets to make best use out of those analytics. You can think about COVID right now, right? In the data exchange that we have, we can provide live secure access to COVID-related data and allow you to blend that with information that you have in your cloud data platform today to make the best decisions possible for you. We can have data applications built on top of Snowflake. Petabytes of information, inside of your application, no problem. The amount of compute horsepower that you put behind that in order to service your customers in your data applications, no problem, right? The way that this architecture has been designed can service a data application build without any issues. And then on the data science side of things, right? 80% of what's done from a data science perspective is data massaging, data wrangling, right? Getting using the data engineering side of things to massage the data into a compatible format that our data science tools can actually use and be able to model off of. And then being able to make that model available to all of your data consumers, we can pull that back into Snowflake in order to make the best decisions across the business. So being able to democratize those data models and make them available to all of your data consumers. And then last but not least is around automated code conversions. We have ways to take a look at your on-prem code today from a Teradata and a Teza are the two examples that I pulled up here. Allow you to look inside of all of these and take all of the user-defined functions out of your store procedures, be able to put it through an automated tool and move it into Snowflake, for example, right? Or your traditional Netezza side of things. We can automate all of the work that has been done inside of these traditional on-prem systems and be able to automate the conversion of your DML statements, for example, into Snowflake. And we have instances where we're looking at about a 95%, 95+% automation rate, right? Allowing you to focus in on the higher, the more complex stuff. But 95% of that stuff can come across very easily with an automated tool like this provided through Snowflake. So, three things that matter: product architecture, native capabilities, and tools that's going to make your job easier, right? The architecture is very important, right? Thinking from the cloud first mentality, from the first stitch of code with security built into it. How do we use the elasticity of the cloud, the unlimited storage to our benefit? Making sure our native capabilities, that spaghetti and duct tape type of complex architecture is simplified for you, right? Let's have your DBAs focus on the data itself and not have a slew of individuals trying to figure out how we stitch all this together. So we'll do all that stitching for you. And then last but not least, the automation, right? How do we make it easier to go from on-prem into the cloud itself? So if you're going to take away a few things from us, benefits of migrating to Snowflake, right, is this unlimited instant capacity. If you haven't seen a demo of Snowflake, it is absolutely amazing how we can spin up and down a server in milliseconds in order for you to take advantage of the scale and breadth of the cloud. And we're focused on making sure that we meet the needs of the business, right, in a single platform that's going to allow us to deliver on the metrics and the KPIs that you need and democratize that data so everybody has access to it through their appropriate tools. And one thing I didn't mention is we charge based upon like a utility provider, for example, right? As you turn on a server, for example, you get charged for it. You turn it off, you stop getting charged for it. So, there's ways that we can make it very economical for you to adopt Snowflake as a service. And if you wanted to hear more, my call to action would be, we're getting ready for the Data Cloud. So we have a big event. It was, traditionally called Snowflake Summit, but with all of these things going virtual, we've decided to move it virtual. So it's a 4-hour event that our CEO and co-founders are going to be speaking about all the great things that Snowflake can do to help you gain access to all of your data and allow you to make better decisions. So with that, I'm gonna pass it back to you.
All right, thanks so much, John. We do have a question here. Can you walk us through the first steps of the process of transitioning to the cloud?
Yeah. So the first steps is is really looking at your current architecture, right? And what kinds of components can do you think are going to be made available in the cloud for you? And sort of mapping those out. So if you look at an AWS or an Azure or a GCP, there's a ton of different tools that can be ported over to the cloud very easily. Where Snowflake comes into play is really around capturing all of that data, right? So you're looking at what do you have today, what tools are available in the cloud, and then seeing what's maybe best to breed for you. One other thing that I'll throw in there is making sure that you get tightly connected with your security team. Each organization is going to have different security standards, if you will. So, working with the vendors that you're looking to move to the cloud with is probably a good idea to help you through that and to tackle the security conversation earlier rather than later, especially if this is your first journey to the cloud. Security is typically a stumbling block for you.
Terrific. Our next question is, can a public cloud handle big data in real time?
It can, and I would reach out on a limb and say it's probably meant better for the real-time scenarios. And from my perspective, there's a different set of layers, right? There's real-time, near real-time, and batch. Each one has its own unique cost to it, right? Near real-time, I would say, is very costly, right? Because you have to have the infrastructure that's set up for it. Near real-time is sort of in between, and it really is going to be a broker between what are the demands of the business, right? When you do a little discovery with the business, sometimes the cost that real-time is needed to put towards versus near real-time is okay, right? But it's understanding the demands of the business. But the cloud infrastructure, in short, is great for those real-time types of scenarios.
Terrific. Our next question, how can I assure compatibility between on-premise and cloud migrations?
Sorry, can you repeat that? How?
Yeah, absolutely. How can I assure compatibility between on-premise and cloud migrations?
Yes, and that's where some of the tools, like from a compatibility standpoint, if you're thinking about it from, hey, I have my on-prem enterprise data warehouse, for example, and I need to move that to the cloud, that's where some of these automated conversion tools can help in making sure that there is compatibility, right? I would be hard-pressed if it's 100% compatibility, but there's tools that can automate that in order to make sure that there is compatibility from a code perspective. Compatibility from the infrastructure side of things in your applications, it's a great excuse to really do an inventory on what you have today on-prem and take a look at some of the advantages that the cloud may have to offer with you, right? Do you necessarily, should you be looking at a new tool in and itself? For example, you have a traditional enterprise data warehouse, right? Is now a great opportunity to look at a new, like a cloud data platform that is built and meant for the cloud, in order for you to there's initial compatibility, and then you sort of, you cut that off at the knees when you're fully migrated over. So a couple of different ways to think about it. Hopefully I answered the question okay.
Perfect. And we have time for one more question. Will data be secure on the cloud?
Yes. So when you, I'll speak on Snowflake from a Snowflake perspective. When you put data into Snowflake, it is secured by Snowflake, and it's encrypted. It is what we do on a day-to-day basis. It is our business to secure your data. And as I mentioned, from the Snowflake architecture, it has been built with security in mind from the get-go. We can go into grave lengths of detail on how Snowflake secures from the data center all the way up to the application itself. But one of the things that I can assure you is that when you're putting data inside of Snowflake, it is secured in Snowflake, and it is encrypted for you automatically. One of the things when you look at going to the cloud or your traditional sort of cloud object storage data lake scenarios, you actually have to manually encrypt that data that you have in your data lake, right? And if you currently have a data lake, I'd go back and check if it is actually encrypted, because it is a manual operation that your data engineer needs to do. Inside of Snowflake, it's automatic. You don't have to think about it. So putting data inside of Snowflake is secure, and we can back that up with countless numbers of customers and presentations that can assure you on that.
Terrific. Well, thank you so much, John. That is all the time we have, but really appreciate you being here and answering all of our questions and for your presentation. And yeah, we really appreciate your time.
All good. If anybody needs to connect with me, here's my LinkedIn as well. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. All right, we are going to move to our second speaker today, Amar from Pizza Pizza. Amar, how are you doing today?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you.
Hi, Amar.
Hello.
All right, ready when you are, Amar.
Okay. All right. Hello, everyone. So before I start talking about moving to the cloud, a little bit about what Pizza Pizza is. We are a pizza chain. If those of you who don't know, the name says it all by itself, but we are a proudly Canadian company. We've been around for over 50 years. We have over 750 restaurants in Canada. We are one of Canada's largest pizzeria chain. We also owned another brand out west in Canada, predominantly in Alberta. It's called Pizza 73. So anyone ever goes to Pizza 73, they'll see that yellow and orange sign. And part of our business model is always innovation, whether innovation at the store level, with the products that we have, or with technology. So one of the things we focus on, because we're in a business that focus a lot on customer service, we always focus on how our customers are seeing us in terms of experience. So customer experience at the end of the day is very important for us. We have to make sure that our customer, they are able to order a pizza it makes it very simple. We have to also consider that our customers are from all demographics. So simplicity and convenience are part of our thought process whenever we are adding new features or item, whenever we are consider any type of changes within our ecosystem. So that's where we focus a lot of our user experience from. And also, I don't know how many of you know this, but about 76% of customers expect companies to understand their needs and expectation. So a lot of what we do, including making a really good pizza and delivering it, it's how do we support our customer and how do we make that process very intuitive. And one of that extension of what we do for our customer is creating that convenience. So we create convenience by having multiple channels. We always say that we want a customer to be able to order from us whenever or wherever they want to. So wherever there's an internet connection, they can order. So those of you who know about us, we have our websites, we have a responsive website, we have an iPhone app, an Android app, and an iPad app. Of course, we have our call center, Some of the stores we have kiosks in our stores. Some of the stores you just walk in and place your order. So these are the different channels that we have for a customer to place order, and we keep on focusing on how do we expand that channel, those channels. How do we make it easier for customer to place order? So, and as you know, more and more customers, they're gravitating towards online shopping. So with e-commerce getting bigger and bigger, especially with our COVID crisis that we're all enduring right now, we're focusing and how do we start engaging our customers through those platforms. So considering, we're heavily focused on customer, we decided, well, we look at our infrastructure inside what we're doing. We're known to always have our own data centers. We're known to manage our own platform. We're known for our own developers. The system we have in-house, it's tailor-made for Pizza Pizza. So those are the skill set that we need for Pizza Pizza. So considering our omni-channel platform that we have, and we think we're very successful because before moving to the cloud, we have over 50% of our transaction online, but we still have challenges. And some of the challenges is our existing system, it's over 10 years old, right? Implementing new features take too long for the business, so we need a more agile approach. Performance during peak, so we see a degradation in performance as volume increases. This affects the customer experience, such as frustrating the customer, potential loss of business, maintaining customer retention. For a cloud solution, well, when we were thinking of it, we said, okay, what is our expectation? If we're going to move to the cloud, what are we gaining, right? So we look at it, we want scalability. As we grow our peak and customer base, redundancy is utmost important, especially in a business like us. Reliability, resiliency. So that with our peak and our volume of transaction and customer going to our website, we need that volume and that resiliency. Rapid development sprints. If the business come to us and said, hey, we want to change something, we have to be able to change it right away. If new technology comes out and we want to be competitive and introduce that new technology into our existing platform, we have to be able to turn that around fairly quickly. Because part of IT is not just IT doing project, it's IT working with the business together to market other products that's coming out as well, or other technology that's coming out. Evolving with new technology without changing the platform, and avoid another complete reactor system. So we looked at this and we says, you know what? We already have a 10-year-old system. We are in a position where we are limited, and what we want to do at certain level, we need to go onto a new platform where in 10 years, we shouldn't feel like we need to rewrite the entire platform. Now, 10 years is a long time to predict what the technology will hold, but we're hoping that going on a flexible, agile platform that changes, that we won't have to redo this again, but yet we can evolve the technology. All that being said, we looked at the big three cloud platform that we have today. We looked at Google, AWS, Microsoft Azure. Pretty much they're all commoditized today. They all have pretty much the same features, the microservices, everything that you're looking for a cloud. The decision at the time, and this was over 2 years ago, it came down to the price and the respective technology that we were looking at. So we wanted to go with microservices. Everyone had microservices at the time. we want to look at a platform where there's high transaction volume and require higher performance, as I indicated earlier. So based on that, we said, you know what, we wanted to go with something, not a traditional database, but more like an SQL database, because that will allow you for high transaction with high performance. So we decided that, you know what, no SQL is the way we want to go. And then on the language, we decided, you know what, Python is what we want to do, because microservices initially built on Python, and Python is a language that we see more flexible for us to manage internally and with the partner that we are partnering up with to do this rewrite. And of course, the last one we look at is, how well are these guys priced? What's the pricing model? How are they getting charged? What do you have to do? The flexibility of, you're ramping up and ramping down with your services. So these are some of the things we look at. And automation is very important as well, right? The way we envision choosing a cloud platform is, and today I believe all of them have it. We set a threshold, as soon as certain services hit the new threshold, it automatically spin up new services. So that being said, we end up going with Google Cloud. And as I was speaking to other people at the time, saying that I'm going with Google Cloud with my peers and everyone in the IT thing, they were somewhat surprised that, hey, not much people are here going with Google Cloud. But these are the reasons why we decided to go with Google Cloud. Python was one of their native language that they use as well. No SQL. We can go into containers without managing containers. We end up going with the Google App Engine standard. So my developer doesn't have to know anything much about Kubernetes or how to package a container and deploy it. So it makes it easier for my developer in-house to manage and focus only on the codes and the application. So that being said, when we look at the Google platform, we said, okay, it's going to be a phased approach. And part of the phased approach is going to be a hybrid solution where we will have an on-premise database and customer data living there together with some of the other application. And then we have our e-commerce and website will be the first phase that will be in the Google Cloud platform. And later on, we'll have the call center and our point of sale app. So if we fast forward 2.5 years to today, so it took us 2.5 years for us to rewrite that code from scratch. We use Python as the backend. The front end was Angular that we use to rewrote our entire e-commerce platform. We launched our website in October of 2019, and our apps in December of 2019. And what we have seen with the result was increase in conversion immediately. Normally, when you launch a brand new website, so it's a brand new UX as well. So completely shut down our entire old website and launch a brand new website. So we didn't lose any customer. We didn't see a dip. Normally, we were actually expecting a dip on our website because of the new platform, of the new UI. Customer might not be familiar on how to place an order, but we actually see a rise in conversion. We see an increase in average ticket. The feedback that came from customer, they actually like our website in comparison to our old website. Performance degradation during peak times were gone. The way I would explain it is, if you see the performance of one user on our website and the performance of 10,000 users on our website is exactly the same performance. So that shows the scalability with our cloud platform. Cost was as we predicted. It was not a lot. It was within our budget. In the last 8 months, the website gained about 6 basis points in transaction, which is huge for us. Normally, year over year, we would see 3 or 4 points of transaction, and that's including our marketing campaign as well. For the apps, we see similar increase. Again, same with the increase of conversion, the average ticket, the customer feedback. And in the last 6 months, we saw about 4 basis points in our application transaction. So overall, if we look at our digital channels, today we're doing over 60% of transaction. Earlier, I mentioned we were doing 50% before we engage in this project. Today, we're doing about over 60%. We have, since we launched the new website and the apps, we're seeing over 10% increase in average tickets and over 30% increase in conversion. So a little example of how easy it is to make code changes based on this new platform and the way we planned it. If we look at our COVID-19 changes, because of COVID-19, we were asked to make a lot of changes on our website and apps, like contactless delivery, contactless pickup, adding new tips. And these are very, very detailed work and big changes we have to make, especially on the tip side. Because we are asking customer to choose, and whenever a customer choose or make one of these actions on our website, we have to take it in the background and process it all the way to our store level and from our store to the customer with the driver. So within 2 weeks, we were able to make these changes on our website. A lot of the website changes we were making, and this include the apps. Sorry, I keep on saying website. These changes that we keep on making, we deploy them on the fly. So whenever there's a change and we want to push it right away and we know it will be live, we can do it at 2 in the afternoon, 4 in the afternoon, 6 in the afternoon, anytime. However, we do have a process in place where if there are certain risk, we don't try to push something into our production without measuring the risk first, because if something do go down, it affects our business and it's a direct impact to our customer and to our revenue at the same time. However, the flexibility is there for us to say, if we want something live now, we could push it and it will be live without affecting our current customer that's on the website or the apps or our system and the back end. So what we have gotten so far from our web thing is, we have seen high performance in the app. We've seen the flexibility. We've seen the agile platform that we anticipated. It's easily scalable. We've got our 3 R's. We've got our increased revenue, increased transaction, and our customer love our website. And in addition to all this, I don't know how many of you know of the Webby Award, but we're also a Webby Award finalist. Unfortunately, we didn't win it. It was on the Webby People Choice Award. Spotify won it, and the Judges Award, Rue won it. But we were happy, and we thought we were in good company when it comes to Apple and Spotify there. That our app made it to the finalists, and we're pretty proud of that. But it does say a lot on how much work we put into the system. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Amar. Fantastic presentation. A lot of great strategy for our audience, and congratulations on being a finalist for user experience. That's fantastic. And congratulations on having such a successful cloud migration. I do have a few questions from our audience for you. Is there anything you would have done differently 2 years ago that could have sped up the process of migration to the cloud, especially when considering COVID?
Well, 2 years ago, we didn't know COVID was, but what I can say is we wanted to do this project much longer than 2 years ago. I wanted to do it like 4 years ago, but it was difficult getting budget internally. I have to go through hoops. I have to do multiple business cases, but I finally get work with my CEO, and he was okay with it. I think the cost was the biggest thing because it was a complete rewrite, and because of the rewrite, it costs a lot of money. It's a lot of resources. We use a third party to help us out because they are really good at this. So that's the only thing I would do. I would have done it earlier.
All right, absolutely. And we have time for one more question. What are some key questions you presented when choosing a cloud provider?
Well, so for us, we own our data center, and when you own your data center, you have you have complete control over it, and that's from all the way from security down to the codes, because we manage our code, we deploy our code, we manage the servers, everything we do. It was difficult for me to sit with my developer and said, I don't want us to do any development in-house anymore. We have to take it outside, and we want to move to the cloud. That was the difficult conversation with my developers. But when we decided to move to the cloud, we see a lot of new feature, lots of advantage, a lot less operation change. And if I talk to one of my director, he would tell me that on a Friday evening, which is our busiest day of the week, normally we would stay at the office until 8 o'clock. Now we still do stay at the office later, but not until 8. But it's so boring that we don't have to worry about anything going down. It's just the operation wise is so simple these days, and it takes that edge off of everyone. I hope I answered the question there.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds great. I am actually going to do one more question because it is a really good question. Is there anything more you'd like to see from your cloud platform or data analytics capabilities that you don't have today?
We don't have that data analytics in the cloud as of yet. Today we are bringing all the data into our data center, and we are using a BI tool currently. But that's part of our journey. Within the next 3 to 6 months, we are looking at using BigQuery with Google. With BigQuery, that's where we're going to connect our BI tools to get all of our analytics. So that's the intention there.
All right, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Amar. Fantastic presentation, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, and that's it for today's webinar. Thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate you coming. Tomorrow, there will be an email sent to all registrants that has the link to see today's webinar, as well as a survey for the webinar. We really appreciate any feedback you can give and any insight into what you're looking for from future webinars. Stay tuned. Next Thursday, we have our next webinar, What's Driving Your Digital Transformation Strategy, and we hope to see you all there. See figuratively.